my internet is down and I'm operating from a phone today. So uh, I can, well, actually, with the agenda, I looked at it before I came on, and so it was introductions to monads. So Tomislav,
Do,
I'm trying to remember now from last week. Was that the plan for today? Sort of um, an extension of the monad conversation from last week?
yeah, introduction to monads. So
Okay,
today I will show monads.
okay, very good. We're all looking forward to that. Whenever you're ready.
Do, do we have also something else?
No. Well, here I could put, let me pull up the, we tend to carry over items. Here, let me share my screen here. This would be interesting
Sure.
from a little phone.
Yeah.
So,
Do
anyway,
you want me that I
yeah,
share the
well,
screen?
yeah,
It's easier for me.
sure. The education log.
So last time we were talking about monads, and before that about higher kind of types, and I'm not sure if we have something in the backlog.
Okay. Yeah. So these are topics that we were just kind of brainstorming that we'd like to go over. Outside of this, we could always go back to. So we have kind of like a planning document for our education. We can kind of review that as far as what sort of what are the things we'd like to accomplish long term with the education working group. That's another thing that we can kind of discuss. I think originally when we set this up, so just kind of refresh everyone's memory. This group was originally the wallet working group. So with the wallets being completed, we kind of changed into an education working group, which has been working out well. And in the early days, we were pretty ambitious, talked about making videos and tutorials and things like that. But it's when you have limited bandwidth and limited time and resources, it's you go back to what can I actually accomplish. And what we've actually been able to do is, thanks to Tomislav, is getting, and also to Arthur Grief, we've been learning about Scala development and getting familiarization with the code base, and also learning about Scala through an actual DApp application that's being built with Arthur's bidding application. So so we've been accomplishing a lot, but so we, if we're looking for agenda items for today, outside of monad introduction of monads, we can pull up that original education planning document and review that as a possibility.
Do we want to talk about serializing?
Yeah, I was going to say that. I was going to ask for that.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. Well, and that's so, and that brings up a good point. And maybe there's an element of this coordination with, so we have the tech governance working group that meets on Thursdays, and that's responsible for the our chip improvement process, all of the cool things that we're introducing into our chain. And Arthur, you introduced an R chip issue a week or two ago, and so that might be another avenue that we might take with these discussions, is reviewing the R chip issues. But in any case, does someone want to pull up that the serialization that R chip issue, and we can review that?
Yeah, this is really more about. So there are two aspects of that. One is technological side, and one is like more of governance. And
Yeah, I'm much more interested in learning about the technical issue, well, the conceptual issues. What does it mean to serialize Rolag?
so
What are the limitations?
So first of all, I used very just a hack to get a JSON from Roland code. So this is why I introduced this serialize as just a quick way to get JSON from Roland. Yeah, that's the whole point. And I used here is the implementation thing, if I can find it quickly. I used the build string pretty printer in. So we have this helper methods for creating string from rolling terms, and this is just like a log, right? You want to print something to the log, and you just want to create a textual representation, and so I use this to create a string that I can parse in Node.js and get the JSON from a map or a list. So you can imagine that this string is not specified very in detail, and it can change very easily, and there is no some kind of pressure to make this very clear and specific. And so now if we want to use this on the chain, this is like very problematic, right? Because every node needs to create the same thing, and if we just change one space, that will be like a problem, right? So in my comment, I wanted to explain how. Oh yeah, I made the link to this pretty printer method. We want to be sure that this serialization is like very good developed, and we know what we want for all of the rolling terms, right? Jim, does this make sense?
Yeah, I'm remembering what
Arthur.
the issues were. We were. It was it Greg that was suggesting that, or somebody was suggesting that there should really be a toJSON function, since serialization is a big.
Yeah, Dan was thinking that we are talking about converting this to protobuf, like serialization in the bytes.
Right.
But here I was using the term serialize as maybe the wrong term. Like this is like a stringify or something like that.
Yeah. But,
so I yes.
But a toJSON function does make sense. I mean, that's what we're doing. Is we're.
Yeah, but the question is, what you want to do with rolling terms that are not directly that you cannot directly translate to JSON. So do you want to encode these terms in JSON format, or because this build string is really printing the rolling as a string, not as a JSON, but the whole rolling as a string, and the continuation as a for, send. So in my code, I was using this only for a map, list, and integers, strings. And I was very careful to not use other terms because that will be not a valid JSON. So underlying method to convert JSON to convert rolling to JSON is not really a JSON. It's just a string representation of rolling.
So my question was, the first thing, I mean, you know, should it be done? Because I mean, we should not do this if you think that different nodes will return different string representations. So I mean, this should be closed if it should not be done because of that problem, right? That's what I'm trying to understand. First of all, we should not implement serialize if we cannot guarantee that every node will serialize in the same way.
I mean, if we have only one implementation, that would be always the same, right?
Okay, so that is not a problem. So, okay.
But because this build string is like internal method in our node, just to print the logs.
Yeah.
Right. It's not some kind of standardization of rolling in string format. So just using this build string, it's not reliable, or it is not created for this purpose to be used on chain or something. It's just it's a printer. It's just to convert to string in some places where you want to
Okay, so if it was implemented, then it should be implemented. It shouldn't use this, but it should be implemented to serialize all Rolang terms.
Yeah.
Correctly, and then the question is, when you serialize, should we serialize? Can everything be serialized to JSON?
Yes. I mean, we can encode everything to JSON, right? We can say,
yeah.
Oh, the send, we will create an object which has some kind of type, and we will say this type is send, and then we will say we need 2 arguments, right? This is not a rolling, but we are encoding rolling AST in JSON. So,
right.
But maybe this is not the same as creating string of rolling, like the source code. And what I had in mind is also to like create exactly the string of the rolling on this channel, right? So you can ask, oh, what is this registry in this channel? What code is there? What continuation or contract? So you can say, give me the string of the code. That would be
okay.
Like
so you're not asking for. So, but I'm not clear. Are you suggesting that we serialize to JSON or not to JSON? We just serialize it as a string.
I'm for both. Because I see usefulness in both of these. So
okay.
So I'm just concerned more about. I would like to have all features in rolling in evaluator mode, right? Because in evaluator you want everything. You want to access to all your hardware, everything. And on the chain, maybe you don't need all of these features, right?
Okay, so is it the case that we would like a 2 string and a 2 JSON?
Yeah.
Or, okay.
Yeah. So you can. This is why I mentioned this parse and serialize as you can go from source code to like abstract syntax tree, parsed and understand by Arnold, and you can go back. You can from AST you can get back the source code. So that is like a useful feature, right?
So is there any different? So 2 string is 2 source. 2 source?
Yeah.
And how do you go from source to?
And from source to AST, you execute the code. You just evaluate the code.
How do you evaluate a string?
So I also with the serialize function, I also added like evaluate function. So I can accept a rolling code and evaluate it inside the rolling, right, as a string. Because we have all of these things already in Arnold. We can accept string because we are accepting this in deploy or eval. So we have methods to parse the string and create the rolling code and execute.
Okay.
This is really great for rolling because this is very straightforward. We are directly working with almost like AST when we have rolling code. So yeah, I would like to have all of these methods available. But for now, these kind of operations are difficult to maintain in the future because, you know, this build string is not envisioned for this purpose.
Yeah.
Okay.
For example, it will not print these special names. I don't know why, but when you evaluate some code, you will see that evaluator will not show you the special names. It will just show you the names of the channel.
Okay, I mean, I think I have enough information to kind of, you know, kind of get some sort of functional direction. But can you also then just talk in the code about powerbox versus channel? Because that was the other discussion, right? The discussion was to not, you know, make it so that you have serialized as a channel, but has it a, why are they both channels? Is powerbox a channel, but just for system operations?
So I can show the difference.
Yeah.
When, for example, so we can have like 3 ways.
Look at the console output, for example. The standard out, because that's a powerbox function, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, but you shouldn't call it powerbox. Powerbox implies external connection. Okay, we can call it special names or something, but we shouldn't call it powerbox if it's not an external connection.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Make them functions.
I mean, in a sense, it is external connection because you want to push something to outside, right? To the console, to the hardware. So in that sense is external connection, right?
No.
No, but the question is like, you know, do you do 2-byte array, something like 2-byte array, or do you make it a channel? That's the thing that I'm trying to understand.
It's just different syntax in the code, and implementation is like different. But in essence, both of these ways are very similar.
Yeah.
But
And,
which way do we want to use?
I'm not sure that I know the answer, but I see special names as a way to create some external. I mean, now I'm using this external. I mean, external to rolling. I see everything that is not closed in the rolling terms. I see external. So to byte array or this special name, I see completely the same. It is not part of the rolling language.
Would you do 2 lowercase that way? That's how is that? How is 2 lowercase different, or how is 2 hex bytes or whatever?
Right.
Well, you know, why would they be different? You know, why are you using something different for other functions that could just convert?
Yeah.
Is it because it's converting? Because it's doing introspection? Is that why it's different?
I mean, the standard printing to standard output can also be like a method, right?
No, not according to the object capability model. Okay, that's why we use powerbox is to be consistent with the object capability model.
Yeah, this is like a good argument.
Yeah, yeah. So in this case,
Yeah, as a difference. Yeah, what yeah, I mean, yeah, what we want to put as a method.
I think we need 2 JSON, we need 2 string, and we need eval, right? We need 3 functions.
and those are functions because they don't need object capabilities.
Right.
That's a good distinction. Yeah.
All those
Yeah,
suggestions,
yeah.
Jim, would those be separate RChip issues, or is all of that encompassed in something that's already created in RChip issues?
I guess it's hard to say. I mean, we're going to have one RChip on string functions, but now we're separating them, so they would be separate.
Yeah,
and this,
you have to close them separately. Yeah.
yeah, then we are talking about more general idea of what should be a method and what should be special process name. Yeah.
But
Yeah, we should. I think we should have some kind of guidance. What is appropriate to be a method and what special name.
I think
And
if we
then what you
look at the definition of powerbox as it's described in the RChain documentation, that is pretty clear, and it has to do with external resources, capability capability model. It goes back to some theoretical work. You can
It's
read.
only clear to me after you explained it.
Yeah.
Sorry, Arthur.
I said it was only clear to me after Jim explained it.
Yeah, I think it's there are definitely functions, and they shouldn't be handled different from other functions.
Yeah, and when we say, I'm also thinking converting something to string can be also like expensive operations. So maybe we don't want to have this as a function. Maybe we want to have something asynchronous. So you are sending something to a channel and then you are receiving the result.
Why would you do that? That's a lot of extra work. I don't understand. I mean, every function has a cost function associated with it. It doesn't matter.
So
It could take 10 years to go, as long as the cost function was written.
But because of underlying code in implementation, maybe you have asynchronous execution.
Asynchronous execution, it could be a problem. Not really. I mean,
this is the object language, or where is the rolling code. So we can simulate function in the implementation. We can have asynchronous code, but from rolling we will have synchronous.
So you could have, you're saying you could have some expression. No.
So
you
here
could have an expression that calls multiple functions, and
Yeah. Can you give us some reference in the code for how we would cost serializing of terms?
I didn't think about that.
if you look at things
sure.
like, if you look at functions like the cost functions for exabytes or any of the other functions, you get some basic idea of how to do it.
Yeah, but I'm not sure if this can be applied to all rolling terms that we want to serialize. I'm not sure.
Yeah, so that's another.
We're not going to be able to serialize them all initially. I mean, like you said, the special names we can't do yet. And maybe if we design some way to do that, maybe parameter substitution or something.
I mean, this is. I'm not saying this is difficult, or I'm just saying that nobody put too much attention to that, right? It's just, you know, for
Is
example,
there-
and or is also not printed the same as in the source.
But is there a cost for doing build string or no?
No, no, no.
Okay.
This is just a helper function in that sense.
Okay, so the question is, should there be a cost for serialize?
There's
Yeah.
there has to be a cost function for every function that's defined in Rhain.
Okay, okay.
It's part of part of the structure. It's got to be there.
Yeah.
Okay, but then where's the cost function for printing to the console? You know, standard out. Yeah.
If you look at the function table, wait, how does it? It's funny how it does that with the types. But if you look at the table of functions, I think that's where we saw it. I forget.
Yeah, where the functions are implemented.
It's right in this same file at the bottom, right?
I'm not sure if it's the same in reduce. So the cost of printing to standard output, I don't think this is implemented in the same way, because standard output is like something special. Standard output doesn't exist on chain. This is like a hack.
So the cost would be 0. My understanding was you had to have a cost function. Oh, that's not a function. Sorry.
But yeah, it's a channel where you're sending something. So this is just execution like any other channel. So in that sense, standard output is special because it cannot exist on the chain. It doesn't make sense. But we have it to be able to print something even executed on the chain.
Right, but so would there be a cost function for serialize?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. For serialize, it must be.
Okay.
Okay.
And
writing to standard out is not a function. If we have a function, it has there's 3 routines that we have to have for every function, or 3 code places. One in the table of functions, we have to add it. We have to add the the function.
we need to create this method implementation.
Right. And the cost function. And that's
yeah,
right.
and the
if
cost is
If we look at where is hexabytes on the table? I'm trying to remember where the cost function is.
The table is just all the available functions.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, it just has the name of the function.
Just the mapping of the names.
Yeah.
Where is this? It's not in this file.
It was at the bottom of the file.
Yeah, it's the bottom of some cost file. In fact, file with the name cost in it.
Okay. So this is the cost file, but this is not the file with the name of.
Isn't it in cost accounting? Cost accounting. Yeah.
Let me search like this.
There.
It's here. Oh, it's the same file, but at the end here. Okay, I missed it. So this is just the mapping of the string names to instances of implementation of this method class.
So how does it find the cost function? I know it has to have There has to be a cost function for every one of these.
I think it's in the cost accounting file.
Yeah, it's here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, it's just
It's
just because it
size
has the
of.
same cost at the end of it, it knows that to use it.
Oh, no. It is used. Each function is used like this. This charge is the state, and this really means calculate what is the cost and subtract for this state.
Okay, yeah, that's simple enough. Sorry.
Yeah.
So yeah, every function calls a cost function. I guess I was thinking that it would have to. I mean, it looks like you could get away with not calling it the cost function if you wanted to, for any reason. You don't
Yeah.
want you didn't want to charge for it.
Yeah, you can skip it, and yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you can skip it in all implementations. If one validator skips this, it will be slashed because the cost will not be the same. So, yeah, it cannot cheat.
So we just add it to the table, define the method here, and define the cost function, and we're done. Right?
Yeah, basically, all of these functions will be executed. All of these definitions of functions will be executed when method needs to be. So when let me go back to when rolling is parsed, and the parser will create this method call. First, code will try to find is this method in the mapping. So is this definition for this method? If it is, it will call this specific implementation. But this doesn't mean that the method is implemented, because in the mapping we only have all the names of the method. So the first thing is to in each of these implementation is to check is this the correct rolling term on which method should be executed. So for example, this can be improved by creating this map with more specific information, right? We can say, oh, but this method union is only applied to these rolling terms, right? So we don't need to call this method to see if it is valid, or we can immediately know if you don't have valid rolling term, this is not existed method on this.
So Thomas, can we go back to the cost, for example, for the from the 2 hex to bytes, because that I just want to get the relationship between cost and the terms, because these were pretty simple because they were the cost was proportional to the size of the string. But what would the algebraic relationship be between cost and expression?
I don't know.
Any idea?
I was not part of this development.
Okay. So yeah, I was trying. It's easy if there is something similar in here, then it's easier to build on than to invent something new.
Yeah, exactly. And we need to know for each rolling term. Yeah, I don't know the logic, right? So yeah.
What is the cost function?
I mean, the cost, for example, the bytes to hex, you just take the size of the byte. Yeah. Can you go to the cost function?
You mean this constructor?
Yeah.
Oh, this is just constructor of this type. So
right,
in Scala, this applies.
If the string is 4 characters, what does that translate to into cost? Like 4 phlogiston units? I mean, what's the...
4 phlogiston, yes.
Okay.
Yes, this value in the cost is phlogiston.
Okay, so it's 1 per character when it comes to like hex to bytes. Okay.
Yeah. And for example, when you
Why wouldn't
deploy
it
a
just
code,
be, I'm just wondering why it isn't similar for serialize. Okay. This is based on the length of the name, right?
yeah, yeah.
Or
I think
value.
it can be
Okay.
something very similar. Yeah, because we are serializing and there is no like very difficult operation for different terms, right? So
Right. Yeah. No,
for
it all
for
looks the same, right? Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
For example, for parsing, when you deploy a contract, you will pay for parsing for every character in your string that you deployed. So
Oh,
even
right.
if you put
Okay.
even if you put just empty spaces at the end, you will be charged for the parsing of these empty spaces.
Okay, but that's good. So because serialize, the cost of serialize would be similar to the cost of deploy then?
I mean, on parsing, for example. Yeah.
On parsing,
So
yeah.
maybe similar to that. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So, but we have opposite direction of parsing. So I'm not sure. Can we just calculate the result of this to string,
Yeah.
or so we have this term here that is chargeable, right? This is like whatever is defined as chargeable, we can apply this cost. We can create this cost object.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure if every term is defined as chargeable. I really don't know this code, so I'm not sure what we have.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the logic is for method or some special name or powerbox, we need to define. We need to somehow correlate the size of this input and the CPU execution, right? For example, in regular expression, this is like very difficult, right? If we have some kind of recursion, the size of the input will not tell us exactly how much execution is that. So
Yeah, and this is why, I'm suggesting that we use the file glob pattern and for a match operation, okay, which is bounded, and it's fairly common. People know file glob patterns pretty well, and I guess there's some design issues. I don't know when we want to do that, but I shared, I guess last week, the one implementation of globbing patterns which we could use, but we could also support a list of things. It could, it could match patterns out, on a list or all its arguments, whatever. But if we just have, we want to match. Well, we have the case sensitivity issue.
Yep.
I guess file patterns don't handle that too well. For case insensitivity, you have to put the uppercase and lowercase letter in brackets so that it matches either one of those.
Yeah, and this becomes pretty specific. I was thinking more in the conservative way to maybe create different methods like start with, end with, contains. This is like very direct and more safe in a way. I mean, it's more difficult to use. I agree, but yeah. because we want whatever we introduce, we need to keep with that for a very long time.
Yeah, and certainly, you know, it can't hurt to have start with, end with, and contains, because
Yeah.
people are familiar with those functions. They use them in
Yeah.
lots of different languages.
Yes, yes.
I like that. I mean, that does solve. Then we can see what actual problems come out to see what kind of other matching we need and we can do without having an attack vector.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, how would you do a cost function with ends with? Is that proportional to the length of the string still?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, I would say yes. Yeah.
okay, or you could call the cost function after you know how many characters you had to scan to find it.
Mm-hmm.
This is even better. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, my opinion is that Roland is very different to other languages. So for other developers coming into the Roland world, I think they will be happy to find some similarities with the languages they use. And for example, if we do start with method on string, it's easier to understand than the channel-based equivalent.
Mm. Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, ideally, it would be good if we could plan a release so that had the the set of functions that we wanted, that we agree that we want. And basically, you know, putting them in there is pretty cookie cutter. Where are we? Okay, so we have the two JSON, the two string, the eval. Now, what about the eval function?
So can you explain for what you want to use eval? I mean, it's in the long run, yes, but for now, so you want somehow to accept rolling as a string and then execute it, or
Right.
Because rolling has a reflection. In most of the cases, I would like to avoid using strings and serialize and this kind of stuff. So yeah, what I was thinking, so all of this stuff I was using to create this demo, right? The serialize and, you know, oh, this HTTP, but that was not the main goal that I had in mind. My main goal, which I couldn't implement because I couldn't find an easy way to connect this standard input output to rolling. That was my goal. Because if you have a standard input output inside the rolling, you can connect to whatever you want, right? You can run Rust in another process, and you can just connect to this Rust standard IO, and you can exchange data or bytes or whatever, right?
Yeah, I guess, you know, I'm thinking of a case like where we want to embed some Rolang into a chat message. So we get it in the string, and then of course we need some way to get it out of the string, but then we want to parse it. So I mean, we could make a function that parsed it, but then we want it to execute it. So how do we, you know, we're basically doing No,
But
it's not a reduction. I guess it's sort of a reduction that we're doing
yeah.
to the active Rolang itself. I mean, can we do that?
So you said you want to send Rolang as a chat message, and I'm thinking you can just create a deploy, right? This is the with the deploy you are sending the data. You are sending the Rolang code to a validator.
Yeah, I don't see the point of eval either. I'm not pro with Rolang, but it seems that
The
we
idea
can
of that,
store process.
it's implementing the idea of active text. And I guess, I mean, you're going to deploy it anyway, unless it's coming from some client, that doesn't, I mean, it could be coming from an XMPP or AMQP client as a string. I mean, that's the only thing those clients know about is strings. But if it's
Yes.
if it's active text, it's going to have programming embedded in it, and somebody has to deploy that separately. I guess that's up to the XMPP and or AMQP gateway to deploy that properly.
Because
it comes down to eventually, if we had everything in Rolang, we need a way to do it.
Yeah. And the deploy is should be very lightweight thing, right? You just you have some Rolang code in the string format for now, and then you just want to create you just want to push this to validator. So you're creating your signature to prove that this is you, and that's it. So deploy should be very lightweight, and whatever you have something to execute, you just create a deploy and push to the node.
So the slice already works on strings, right?
Sorry?
The slice.
Yes, I think we have slice, yeah.
But you have to cost account that deploy.
Yeah. And then, I mean, from which perspective you mean? With deploy, you always get cost accounting, right?
Yeah, you're just saying that this is some lightweight construct, but it's when it includes pre-charge and refund, even the simplest deploy turns out into at least two ref transfers.
Yeah. I mean, for now, yeah, you're right. It's our pre-charge and refund is maybe a larger part of the execution than the contract we are deploying. So yeah. But, yeah.
Tomislav, I have a question about so these two JSON and two string. Could you eventually write examples of a very simple map, like with two entries, for example, an integer and an unforgeable name? And what's the difference between two string and two JSON?
So when you say this is a map, it's it is completely the same, because map you can now this build string will print map list in the same way as in the JSON.
Yes, and if the map contains an unforgeable name, for example.
So you're saying
how would it differ between two JSON and two string?
So now we have only this pretty printer for Rolang. So we don't have this to JSON, right? But because this pretty printer is printing maps, lists, set in the same way as JSON representation, we can sort of use it to JSON. But this is not the real JSON. We're just, you know, this is how this build string is written. But for example, for unforgeable name, this is how it's printed. If it is just unforgeable, like private, or if it is a deploy ID or deployer ID or this authentication token. So it's just helper method to, you know, print something to the log. So it's not really the JSON representation or of something like that.
Well,
For me, that was like a quick way.
The distinction is like you're not serializing the AST, right? You're creating a more.
Yeah, you're exactly. You're converting rolling AST to string.
Right.
So there's there's the two JSON, which takes objects and expresses them as JSON, and there's two string, which takes which converts to Rolang source code.
Yeah, that can be two different string representation of rolling. Yeah.
So so that might include, you know, for comprehensions, things like that.
Yeah. For example, we already have this situation with the Web API. We need to when we are translating, when we are returning from Web API something, we need to convert this to string basically, because on the client side this string will be converted to JSON object, and right, that's it. So here is the code to translate, for example, expression to some another object that will be serialized on the Web API. So you can see that only some of the types are converted to this another object, or only subset of rolling. For example, for list, for a map, only if key is a string or byte array, it will be recognized as a key. If key is something else, like a forgeable name, it will not be visible. You will not get this data from Web API.
And
I'm not saying this is like
yeah.
good solution. I'm saying I created this as like quickest way to expose to something to Web API. Sorry, Rafael, you want?
Yeah. So yeah, I think this is great. This structure, and yes, but of course the main point is to have those sort of capabilities available inside Rolang itself instead of outside through the API. But I don't see an unforgeable name in this. I see is GURI, but I don't see an unforgeable name.
Here is the unforgeable
okay.
name. So so I created this object. Sorry, where is the? So I created this objects as a representation. What will be translated to JSON to return from Web API or accept from Web API. So I created this like subset of rolling terms that are easy to convert to JSON, because now rolling AST is generated from protobuf files, and this is like huge files. In CI, 4 minutes is compiling these generated files. So from these protobuf files, no. This is in, oh, I think it's in rolling. No, rolling terms, shared. Row types, I think. I forgot where is the models. Oh no, it is everything is here. Yeah, with the row types. So from here, from this definition in protobuf, this is generated with Scala. And all of this is generated. For example, par. Here is the generated code. This is like a huge code, and the par is not too big, but all of this different subclasses are for each of this term or rule is generated this code. So to convert this directly to JSON, I had problems with this serializer, because there is an additional object that it doesn't know how to convert to JSON, and that was the reason why I created this subset of terms that it's much more easily translated to JSON. But this is not the whole role.
Okay.
This is just.
Yes, these are just expressions and unforgeable, and you are right.
Yeah. And
So,
the bytes. Yeah.
So we have 3
Yeah,
minutes left in the hour. I don't know how many of you have to leave. But
well, I will read the hardship about this and eventually give a comment. And but of course, I very much need this feature too for the signature verification in rolling, because right now I rely on nonce, and I would like to be able to turn any process to string and to have a hash from this string to have a more precise signature verification.
Okay, but for that, Raphael, your 2 source would be good, right?
But why do you need to string? I mean, you can for each process you can call to byte array. This is like a universal serialization in protobuf.
Yeah.
I mean, this is created
yes.
for this purpose.
Yes, I have to, and this has been, I think Dan and you too answered me. I have to check the Rhain API source code, because the thing is that I want to generate this same 2-byte array with Node.js, because I want to, of course, the signature must be generated with outside of Rhain, and then it must be verified in Rowlang. So I have to exactly know if I have an object in JavaScript, I have to be sure that I can obtain the same byte arrays that Rowlang will obtain with this function.
Robert, don't you use
But
2-byte array and then bytes to hex and sign the bytes to hex?
Yep, probably. But I'll take a look at the code that was that I was that Dan told me to look at.
Oh, okay.
So this 2-byte array is directly serialize function on provided by protobuf. So I mean, this is why protobuf is like a standard, because whenever you define in your protobuf definition of types, this will be always serialized in all languages. Serialization will be the same. And if you look at these bytes that protobuf is creating, these names are not included. So all that is needed is order of these fields. So basically, the protobuf serialization is serializing all of the fields one after another, and you will get all of the bytes, and that's it. And you can change the name of the field, and everything will work the same. So this is like a safe way. But if you change the order of fields, then it will not be the same. This is like a different type.
Okay.
So on the client side, you have this difficulty because of creating protobuf a type. You are forced to use protobuf library. You are forced to use, because this library defines how you convert some type to bytes. And
okay, yeah, this is the reason. It's because I don't want to dive again into protobuf, but I guess I'll try.
yeah, the whole R node is based on this protobuf definition. This is like a protocol for communication. The idea is that if you know a protobuf definition, you know how to communicate with the node, and you don't need to know anything else, right? This is like all the other stuff is like internal. I mean, this is not completely the truth, but like this is the goal.
So what about communicating between shards? If you want to deploy on another shard, what do we need for that? That can just stay protobuf, right? We just we just give a process and we deploy it, given some shard output, external shard, which would be a powerbox function, right?
Yeah, and we can ask how this powerbox function is represented. So it's represented somehow with this in these protobuf definitions. So just by looking at this par type, this par is it can hold all of the other terms in rolling. So this is why, because in par you can put every other term. So if we have multiple sends, this is why it's a repeated. It's like a list. So you can have multiple sends, receives, new channels, expressions. Everything can be in par, and this is why this par is like on the highest point. It holds all the other rolling terms. And whatever you're receiving inside this par, it's just like in the syntax. All of these terms are in parallel. It's written in parallel, so they are all one big par. And this is how rolling is starting. It is creating this AST with these objects, and then it's starting to reduce. For example, here in eval, there is one initial eval, like the main eval, the eval for par. This is like entry point, and then from there this eval. From there, this eval is starting to execution in parallel, and for each different term, there is a special eval method. Okay, this is for generated message. This is like also for all the protobuf generated stuff. But here, for example, eval for send, eval for receive, eval for var. So each of these terms is special. It has a special function for evaluation. So you're starting from a par, and then you're executing all of the terms that are inside. And this is how rolling execution is working. For the new, and here in the new, we can see how new unforgeable names are created, right? How bundle is processed. And here is the random stuff that is also used to generate these unforgeable names.
Can I show something just 1 minute to
Yeah, sure,
get
sure.
my mind settled? So just to be sure, so what I'll have to do to generate the equivalent of 2-byte array in JavaScript is something very close to it. So this is some code from Rhain toolkit. This is an object, and basically I use a protobuf from Arnode to encode it, and then I call finish on it, but maybe there is some other function like 2 bytes, or do you know something about it, Tomislav, or not?
I think that's it. You're creating this array. This is the thing.
Okay, so maybe this encode is or just finishes. Yes, okay, it returns uint.
Yes.
So I guess I just have to find the, so this the par constructor.
This is generated code, right?
Yes.
So you need to have the same thing for
par.
par. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. This is it.
Yes.
So okay. So I'll try this today.
So you're really doing the same thing. You are constructing this IPAR, and you need to put everything. So basically, you're building abstract syntax tree of rolling manually, right? Not writing rolling, but writing these strange objects.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't find it. So maybe I just
maybe it's not in Casper. Maybe it's in.
It's just and I'm not sure about the IP. Okay, maybe this is it. Great.
Yeah, it seems so.
Okay. Thanks.
And maybe you have some helper function which is doing the encode and finish in one call, right? For example, serialize bytes. You know, whatever this generator is, how it's created. Because usually when you have this encode, it is some kind of builder that you can execute multiple stuff. So this is why I'm thinking that maybe you have only one method to serialize bytes, because this is how this gRPC tools is generating code. Yeah, this writer is in the background. This is the like lower level protobuf, and then yeah, you have from object, to object, to JSON. Okay,
Verify.
maybe.
Yes, I have the so this is my code. I use the writer to translate some ID, some buffer to an unforgeable in hex representation.
Okay, can you go back a little? So buffer is something on the Node.js, but there is how it's called, a polyfill for the browser. So here basically you want to convert bytes in this buffer to hex. So
yes.
you could easily just skip this first part of the code, and you could supply directly. You can call directly ID to string hex.
This will do the same.
Yes, it should be the same because you didn't do anything. I mean, you're using slice one, so I'm not sure. Slice one.
Yeah, I can't even remember why I do all those stuff. I don't know if I copied them from Rhain API or if I just kind of find out that we must do it. So okay, so
it should be enough to do this. Yeah, this buffer is it has these nice functions like to hex and this kind of stuff. But I'm not using this buffer. I'm avoiding to use this buffer because I know it is not natively supported in the browser. I know this is some additional stuff from Node.js, so I'm trying to avoid it, and this is why I'm writing. I have special functions to hex.
So this A, could it be something like because in all my code, what I want to sign is rolling maps. So if the A is this object, it should have the same result as the same thing in as this 2 bytes hex.
Almost.
No, 2x byte.
Almost.
Okay, so this is what
almost.
I will.
If you go back to your par generated code, you will see you don't have map directly, so you need to create express array, and then in this express array you need to put a map.
Nice. Okay, I get it.
And you need to construct the whole. Yes, and then you need to create array, and then in array you need to create whatever is representation of map. I'm not sure if you can just create an array with a map, or you need to create some additional structure. So you need to see in the expression what is accepting in this array. So can you go back to expression? And
so let's see expression.
So, expression is probably having multiple things. So you need to create a field which is probably some kind of a map. Can you scroll down? You have all of the types. Somewhere is a map.
Okay.
Map body. So you create a map body, and then inside map body you create another object.
Oh yeah, I remember those. No, please
so
no.
You're working directly with AST, so you need to create all of this, all of this structure, which is like huge. Just a tuple is many nesting objects.
Right, but isn't that what the whole serialized artship was I mean, that's not going to solve Raphael's problem, but the art chip was trying to simplify this.
with serialize.
Yeah.
Serialize is like avoiding this AST.
Right.
Is using a string as you know.
Right.
But if you want to be precise, if you don't want to work with strings, then you need this AST. But we can for example have JavaScript converter from rolling to AST, all in JavaScript. So you can like create JSON map, and you can convert it to these strange objects, this part, right?
Yeah, this is what I would want to do to avoid those constructions by hand.
Yeah, and then we can create this kind of stuff in JavaScript, like helper function. This can be another library where you can just import the library and you can create this. But this doesn't completely resolve things, because how can you construct an unforgeable name? You need to mention, is this private unforgeable name? Is this deploy ID? Somehow you need to say this, but it's easy for map list and this kind of stuff. But for some other stuff,
yeah, I agree. This is the whole debate around to JSON.
Right.
What should it include?
Right. Right.
Okay,
so we need to see if we need this functionality in rolling inside, or this is on the edges, right? So maybe we need better support on web API, so we can get more data in the format that we want. Maybe we don't need this directly in the rolling, right? If this is just for extracting data from existing code.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not happy with how web API is converting this to JSON. It's not JSON that you are expecting. You have this expr int, expr string.
Right. I mean, that was the initial reason why we went down that route, right?
Maybe
this is how this library is working by default. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so but thank you for the explanations.
Sure. And this is the whole when we are creating deploy, maybe for example, you're a file, you are creating pushing files to the Arnold, and you're forced to convert everything to string. Whatever you have, you need to convert this to string. This is not optimal. It would be nice if you can just say, oh, I have this byte array. I will push it in the byte array protobuf, because I want to have like performance to be as fast as possible, right? I don't want to convert this to string. And Arnold can accept this directly as a byte array without any conversion. But for now, we have only input that we have in Arnold is a string for rolling. But we can have very similar what we have in listen for data and name. For listen for data and name accepts this rolling AST. So we can create this kind of interface where we are creating AST without conversion to string, directly in AST, and right, it's more difficult, but it's giving us these performance things.
Okay.
Well, for some stuff, it doesn't make sense to convert to string. For example, if we want to push some large video file, we want to stream this, and we definitely don't want to convert everything to string.
Yes, right now. So you have the file that you get with read file in Node.js, for example. So then I gzip it, and then I I base 64 it, and then I've got too many layers, I think, and yes,
Yeah.
storing directly byte arrays could be
Yeah.
great.
And this is even worse. So we are packaging, everything is in this string in the term, but the whole HTTP request is a JSON which is converted to string again.
Yep.
So we have string in string which has bytes, and you know. So yeah, this can be much more performant than we have now.
Well, great. This was a very helpful session. I've actually learned quite a bit. So does anyone have any final thoughts or comments? Good. What we're on the weekly debrief, Daryl is going to have a segment where he has a week in review. And so I've been tasked with the job to provide a 1 to 2 sentence summary of the education of this education session. So I'll come up with something, and perhaps Tomislav, if I feel that I'm not quite capturing, you know, all of what we went over, or sort of a nice summary, I may send you a DM you in Discord just for you to read 1 or 2 sentences, and you give me a thumbs up, or, you know, change, you know, whatever you feel necessary. But ultimately the goal is, you know, we'll provide just a 1 or 2 sentence summary of what we go over each week to be discussed at the weekly debrief on Wednesday. And that way, you know, the broader community will start to, you know, appreciate what's going on here in the education session, and hopefully we'll get more engagement from others in the future. So just wanted to mention that.
This is a great idea. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it.
Very good. Oh, Jim wants me to turn my camera on. I'm on my little phone, so I'm walking around today with my internet being down. So
you are free now.
Yeah, that's actually kind of nice. I'm not chained to my desk, so, you know, can look out my window. So anyways, hey, thanks everybody. This was another great session. So we'll get it up on YouTube here shortly, and look forward to seeing everybody here next week.
Yes, thanks for questions. And Jim, if you can give me access to YouTube.
Oh, I'm sure I did that already, didn't I?
I didn't check. Sorry. If you already did this, okay, yeah.
You should be able to select.
I just want to edit description.
Right. So yeah, you should be when you're in YouTube and you have your picture up in the corner, you should be able to pull that down and select the Divi triangle. And that, then you're in the Divi account, which is what we use.
Switch account, or no?
Right.
Yeah, switch account. So you'll switch from your Tomislav account to the Divi DAO account, and then the first time that you enter in the username and password, it'll save it. So you'll just be able to switch back and forth between your personal account and the Divi DAO account, and whenever you want to.
I was thinking that you will give access to my account and not. So you're asking that I connect to directly with username and password that you will provide me, or?
No. You have been added as an admin, I believe, to the Divi DAO. So when you do switch account, you should.
I don't see. I only see my account.
Oh. Okay, I'll add you.